will be Alice. She is garbed in what she refers to as her Spanish disguise. It was in May, I think 1911, when we went to Spain together that first time. Alice was enthralled, seduced, and she has always, ever since and perhaps forever, been in love with any, some, and all things Spanish. Except for Pamplona, of course. Ernest ruined Pamplona for her. Ruined it utterly. But then anything Ernest touched was ruined. And utterly ruined for Alice. She did dislike him. Utterly. Not me. I thought Ernest was important. And for a long time he was. And then he wasn't any longer. We met Ernest for the first time in 1922. Springtime of 22, Sherwood Anderson brought him around. He would sit here quietly, and he would listen to me, and he would watch me. He brought me his work to read, and I did. And I found him delightful. And I taught him how to cut his wife's hair. Such dark eyes and his bit of mustache and a certain boyishness which made him seem Italian. "I am Ernest Hemingway," he would say in a deep, deep voice. "I am Ernest Hemingway." And he was.
Gertrude died this afternoon.
It's true, I died this afternoon. 27th of July, 1946, died this afternoon.
I wish to God we had gone together.
Alice.
I always fatuously thought that we would go together. A bomb, a shipwreck, anything, just anything but this.
She'll understand. Eventually she will. I understood it long ago. I wrote it. Dead is dead. That's what I wrote. Dead is dead. And it is. But dead is not done. Not over.
I can almost hear her. Baby? Baby Woo-Jums? Almost.
Dead is dead.
Baby?
Mama? Mama Woo-Jums?
I can almost see her. There. The way she was always there. Oh, but now she's gone, and I'm here alone, and there's nothing more. There's only what was.
What was there, Alice?
There was that presence.
When we first met, Alice thought I was a golden brown presence. That's the way she described me. She was a golden brown presence, Alice would say. And I was.
She was a golden brown presence.
You see?
There was such a glint of gold in her hair. Oh, she had this large coral brooch pinned to her blouse. And when she spoke, when she spoke so little the first day.
That was in September, in '07.
When she laughed.
Oh, I laughed again.
I thought her voice came from the large round coral brooch. Oh, it was so full, her voice, and deep and velvety. Like two voices, actually, like a great contralto's. But it was unlike anyone else's voice.
Oh. She understands. She is beginning to understand. She has always understood, finally understood. Can you hear me now? Sometimes it takes some time, sometimes.
I was 30 years old when I came to Europe to stay. Now, when I came, I didn't come to stay, but I did stay. You see, I was a San Francisco girl, and when the earthquake happened, shortly afterwards, I came to Europe with my friend Harriet. No, not a friend. Not really a friend. More than a companion or an acquaintance, but not a friend. There was only one friend, and that was Gertrude, but she was later, a little later. We were traveling on the train, Harriet and I, and it was hot. Oh, it was so hot. I stepped into the dressing room compartment and removed a lovely cerise ribbon girdle I was wearing and threw the thing out the window. And when I returned to where Harriet was sitting, she looked up at me and said, "What a strange coincidence! I just saw your cherry-colored corset fly past the window." Well, that settled it for Harriet as far as I was concerned. I knew there was someone else. I knew that somewhere there was someone else.
1907, when Alice first came there, we being my brother Leo and myself, were living in Paris at 27 Rue de Fleurus. It was a pleasant place to live, and living there was pleasant. We had covered the walls with such excitement, such things as had never been seen before. There were pictures by Cézanne and Matisse and Picasso and many, many more. We hung them in stacks, one above the other, and another and another.
There was a large Tuscan table with clawed legs and the most enormous buffet in the style of Henry IV, and chairs and valueless but interesting glass objects, all sorts of things. Gertrude liked all sorts of things.
But the things, the real things, were the pictures. There have never been such pictures, and each one of them alone, but all of them together. And there will never be such things again, only alone, never again together.
It was only later, after wiping and polishing the furniture and the objects, that I came to fully appreciate that they were things of beauty and detail and proportion. Gertrude's things.
First, it was only a mass to Alice, a group of things.
At first, it was only a mass of things grouped together.
At first, it was only...
At first, it was only Gertrude, but actually, it was ever only Gertrude. Only Gertrude. Ever. Gertrude!
I told you she would. She has always understood. Finally understood. Your hand, my dear. If you will come back tomorrow, I will take you for a walk in the Luxembourg Gardens, Miss Toklas.
That's very kind of you, I'm sure, Miss Stein.
It isn't kind at all. I like the gardens, and I like walking, and perhaps you as well, Miss Toklas. Come and look at this autumn herbaceous border. It's really quite sufficient. Come and look, Alice.
Alice. Well, I did not intend to reciprocate the familiarity. Alice. Not then. Not so soon. Not at that time. We strolled, and Gertrude talked, and she asked a great many questions, and what did I like, and what were my prejudiced colors, and I told her that there was only one color which I did not like, and that was cherry, Miss Stein.
Alice always knew the perfect thing to say, and she always said it, and it was perfect. I remember once Ernest and Hadley came here. One evening, Ernest Hemingway and Hadley. She was his first wife, Hadley was. Or perhaps it was Ernest and Pauline. It was one of them anyway, one of Ernest's wives. Ernest was beginning to be famous. He had written already one of those books, any one of them. And they were all the same in the same way that all of his wives were all the same. Alice already knew that she did not like him, and he, and that was his failure, did not like her. He had already come to it that he would not refer to Alice by name when he discussed us. And he did discuss us. He called us Gertrude Stein and a companion. Ernest came with a wife one evening. They had been to Maxime's. Ernest had had one of his good reviews for one of his not good books. And he was feeling famous.
Which is not the same as being famous.
So, they had gone to Maxime's. They came to Rue de Fleurus, and Ernest was angry. He often was. Jesus H. Christ, we've been to Maxime's, and I am furious. They didn't recognize me at Maxime's. It kept us standing behind some velvet rope thing till I finally had to tell them who we were.
Who were you?
Alice said that Ernest was one of those who underwhelmed her. And there seemed to be sometimes between Alice and those people who would be between Alice and me sometimes a very large problem. Oh, she could be fire and fury and never seemed to be fire, nor seemed to be furious. Mabel Dodge, the very rich Mabel Dodge, who could never decide on anything, really did decide, and almost from the beginning, that she did not care for Alice.
Alice is slight and dark, with angry gray eyes and black lashes and a drooping melancholy nose and drooping eyelids and ears which droop under drooping oriental earrings. And her person is hung with drooping barbaric chains and jewels. And she just drooped.
And years later, after she had made that decision, she said to Alice,
"And when am I to see Gertrude?"
and Alice told her,
I don't think you are to see her.
and she did not. Not again. Not ever. Mabel did not care for Alice's boutique dresses. Said they made her look like someone out of the Old Testament. And Alice asked her,
Who from the Old Testament do you know, Mabel? And know intimately enough to know their personal habits and compare them with those of mine. Who?
asked Alice.
God?
It was delicious. She, Alice that is, was delicious.
Though I'll give you, Mabel, you're probably old enough. God knows.
That was in 1911. And she was splendid, Alice was splendid. She had come to 27 Rue de Fleurus to stay, and she did stay. It was difficult at first, difficult for Leo, my brother Leo. Alice looked after me, and it was right that she did. You see, when you are a genius, you are privileged, and therefore no one can do anything but take care of you. That is the way I was, and that is the way I am, and I did, and I do. Alice knew all this from the beginning. Her bells rang. Her bells only rang 3 times in her life, and only rang when she met a genius. There was me, and there was Pablo Picasso, and there was one other. And from the beginning, Alice took care of me.
Gertrude was 34 years old, and she'd never been a leader. When they had been children in Oakland, California, Leo led. Gertrude followed. Everywhere, up and down the Oakland hills, and then later when she became a young woman, she followed into Cambridge to university, and then to Paris, to 27 Rue de Fleurus. And that is where I came and found her like that, following. Well, Leo was 2 years older than Gertrude, and some would call him handsome. He liked me very little. But then that put me in most excellent company, for he also liked Pablo very little. Picasso's inventive, I'll give you that. Ingenious even, but trivial.
You don't acknowledge it as art, Leo?
That?
Yes, that one, and that one, and that one, and all the rest, yes.
They're hemorrhoids. They're ugly, twisted nothing. Hemorrhoids.
Leo is not true. He is like me. He is doing something which has not been done before. You have the new things I've written. You have them. Have you read them?
I have.
And?
They are hemorrhoids.
You haven't read them.
I have, and they're not art. They're not literature. They're barely typing. They ramble.
Real life rambles.
They repeat.
Reality repeats.
It means nothing.
To you.
No, it means nothing to anyone.
To me. To me. It means very much to me.
No doubt. But the desire to be literary, the desire to be an artist does not make one such. An artist must turn himself outward, not inward, and that is the fact.
That is dogmatic.
Hemorrhoids in paint and hemorrhoids on paper.
Wrong. Wrong, wrong, wrong. You are very wrong, wrong, wrong.
I am very right. Right, right. It is exciting.
The fight?
The book.
My book?
It is exciting. Very exciting.
Very exciting.
More exciting than anything else has ever been.
Yes?
Yes. Even more exciting than the pictures.
Picasso's pictures?
Yes.
Really?
Really. Even more exciting than his pictures promised to be. More.
That is high praise. Very high praise indeed. It is what a writer needs. Praise is. Not criticism, praise.
Praise and praise and praise.
You do most truly understand. Praise and praise and praise.
When it is deserved. And it is.
At first, when I first knew you, I thought you an old maid, mermaid.
A mistake easily enough made.
It was only a nickname.
Of course.
Oblivion.
Oblivion.
A nickname gone to oblivion.
Of course.
With that understanding, and I have told you that she always understood, the era of Alice began. She created the background which made it all possible. None of it have been possible without that background which she made for me. It didn't matter any longer that Leo thought the things I wrote were of little value, thought they were of no value, because they were valuable. They were valuable to me, and they were valuable to Alice.
Leo thought I was trying to push out Gertrude, trying to push him out of Gertrude's life and out of the house.
And she was.
And I did.
Leo was no longer the only one. Alice became the only one. Pablo Picasso liked her. The Miss Toklas, with the small feet like a Spanish woman, and the earrings like a gypsy, and the father who is the king of Poland. I like her. I like her. The Miss Toklas. The, he said, the, confirming for once and for all that there was only one Alice. How did it happen? Well, it happened naturally. And that is to say that naturally it happened. One summer, I made myself the most practical hat out of a waste paper basket. A group of us in summer went to Italy, to Fiesole. We had gone there each year, several years, but that summer it was different, because that summer Alice came as well. The hills around Fiesole are steep, and that summer it was hot and dusty and romantic. We walked. I walked. Alice walked. We walked together.
Gertrude, come up here. It's the most delightful spot. The view was lovely.
Alice removed her shoes. It was hot, and she removed her shoes, and I lay down in the daisies. Flat down on my back. Well, it is hot.
I had a friend named Liliana when I was a girl in San Francisco. Yeah, and well, throughout the year at home, I dressed like a Quaker lady in a long gray dress. But every summer, Liliana and I would take the money we had saved and dress ourselves in artistic clothes and go to Monterey, which was the town where Robert Louis Stevenson lived for a while. And there was this old lady there, a Senorita Bonifacio, who had had an affair with Sherman, General W.T. Sherman of the Civil War. He planted a rose bush in Senorita Bonifacio's garden, and he told her he would come back to marry her when the roses bloomed. 30 years had passed and had not come back, but she was waiting still tending the rose bush.
But Alice, what has that charming romance to do with it being hot today?
It was hot in Monterey, and that's what I remembered, and why. Hot as it is here today.
I have been very happy today. Your logic is happy. Happy is logic, or logic is happy, but happy is not logic. Today I am happy.
And I too.
And loved. I have been very loved today.
Have I as well?
Yes, very.
No one has ever. I don't know how.
Didn't Liliana love you? Didn't Harriet love you?
I don't think they cared, really.
Care for me. Please care. I care for you in every way possible. There's no one else I could ever want or ever care for.
Are you certain?
Certain.
I don't think there's anything to say more. You have guessed me, expressed me.
When all is said, one is wedded.
I am responsible for you.
And that is that. And that is the way it was. And now, this is the way it is.
Dearest Pablo, Gertrude died this afternoon, July 27th, 1946. And the emptiness is great. So very, very great. I will try and tell you all about it, how it happened. Just before Christmas, we had gone to Belgium and baby was tired. And she complained of being tired. And you know, being tired was not the sort of thing Gertrude Stein ever complained of, or ever was. And then in April, the doctor said she needed to be built up, and then she needed an operation.
No operation.
And so we went to Sept, to a lovely house which a friend had lent to us. But the day after we arrived there was another attack.
It is painful. It is so painful.
So then I took her back to the American hospital at Neuilly, and the specialists all looked at her, and they said she must be given treatments for several days before they could operate. And they gave her the treatments, and then last Friday they said no. No, they said they would not undertake it. She had suffered so much. She was furious. She was furious and frightening and impressive. She was like she was 30 years ago when her work was being attacked. She dismissed them all the specialists.
Get out, all of you, get out.
She was beautiful. So strong and sane and beautiful.
Alice? What is the answer? Now, in that case, what is the question?
And they wheeled her away from me, and the last I saw was down a long white corridor, and she was beautiful. But now she's in the vault at the American church on the Quai d'Orsay, and I'm here alone, and that is all. There's nothing more. There is only what was. Gertrude died this afternoon, and I cannot believe it is true.
You have to learn to do everything. Even to die, Alice. Sometimes you do.
Yes, sometimes I do.
From anger.
No, not from anger. Heat and other things.
Today? Is it from the heat today?
No.
What then?
Today it's from anger.
Sometimes she's like a leaf in the wind.
Your nephew, Alan Daniel Stein, he's coming here today.
Here?
This afternoon.
For what reason?
To discuss the will.
What will?
Your will.
Dear God.
Indeed.
How do you know this?
He called.
Is Alan the only one?
What do you mean, dear?
Leo.
Leo is not kind. Bitter. Still bitter.
I had thought that
He
surely...
is not kind and he is not
Surely he would have said
gentle.
something about my dying.
Oh, he did. He did most certainly say something.
What did he say?
I don't want to tell you.
You might as well. Poor unhappy Leo. After all, he's 74 and deaf. And he'll not live long.
Can you know things like that, really?
Yes, most certainly. There are any number of things like that one can know.
Tell me.
Tell you what?
Some of the things like that you can tell me. When so-and-so and or so-and-so will die.
For instance?
For instance, Mabel. Mabel Dodge and Ernest. When will Mabel and Ernest die?
I will not.
Oh, do you know?
Yes,
Oh.
but I'll not tell you. Now tell me, what did Leo say?
He didn't say, he wrote.
A grave mistake for Leo to have made. He could never write. What did he write?
Gertrude wrote a lot of stuff. Sometimes she gave herself a puff. She was not afraid that the puff would smother, for then she gave herself another. Isn't that awful?
The sentiments? No, not for Leo. The meter is unforgivable. The Picasso portrait must go to the Metropolitan Museum in New York City.
Is that the will?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, of course it is. It was always planned that way. You told me so.
The rest and residue of my estate, whatsoever kind and wheresoever situated, is to my friend Alice B. Toklas of Rue Christine, Paris, to use for her life, and insofar as it may become necessary for her proper maintenance and support, I authorize my executors to make payments to her from the principal of my estate, and for that purpose to reduce to cash any paintings or other personal property belonging to my estate. And it further provides that in the case of your death, Alice, that any residuary estate shall pass to my nephew, Alan Stein, and upon his death, in equal shares, to such children of Alan Daniel Stein as may survive him.
Well, that provision should keep the Stein birth rate down somewhat.
What are you doing, Alice?
I'm nearly finished.
Yes, but with what?
I've written to everyone to tell them about Basket.
Oh, dear Basket. Poor dog.
Yes. He was a dear animal. Even being so famous, I had come to depend on his depending on me. There's no one to depend on me any longer, and I do so need dependented.
You need what?
Dependented.
Dependented?
Dependented.
Where did you get that word?
It seems a good word. Is it not a good word?
I don't know if it's a good word or not, but it is certainly an exciting one. Dependented. Indeed. Oh, I like that. Dependented indeed.
I have made a decision. Sort of a decision. well, not really a decision, because I'm not certain I have decided, but I think I have decided that I want to go to heaven.
Alice, have you gone mad?
Because you, I think, will be there.
I will be in heaven.
I think what you're in now is a sort of limbo. Bernard Fayet thinks that eventually you'll be released from, well, limbo and go to heaven. eventually. Oh, well, Bernard's been converted. He's Christian now, and he thinks that I should become, and eventually I'd like to go where you will go.
Go eventually. No doubt you see it like a train's journey across the Pyrenees.
No, not a train. Oh, I had to sit in the aisle on my luggage all the way from Nice to Paris, not a train.
Then as we were in the Ford during the First War.
Oh, yes, that would be lovely. You sitting high in the driver's position, me beside you.
Issuing injunctions and commands.
You had no sense of direction.
Yours has certainly gone peculiar now. Perhaps you're going senile.
No, to heaven.
You are getting older.
Yes, I'm old. I've been asked to do an article, a survey of a haute couture for Paris for a magazine, so I know I'm old.
And with this there is a connection?
Yes, they are to call the article 50 Years of French Fashion.
And?
Well, do you suppose there's anyone else alive whose memory goes back so far? I am old.
In 1894.
Oh, God. 1894. So long ago.
I was a student at the Harvard Annex.
Radcliffe, dear. They changed the name years ago.
And I wrote it then, and it is true now, that sometimes I fiercely and defiantly declare that I won't believe in the now or in the future. And I do not. I do not believe in heaven.
Nevertheless, I intend that we shall both of us go there.
Where are you going now?
To Rome. Well, anyway, to make arrangements to go to Rome.
Rome?
To see if I can see if the Pope will see me.
The Pope?
The Pope! Arrangements must be made for Rome and heaven. In that order, I'd imagine.
I'm certain that the Pope will see Alice. Dear, dear Mama Woojums. Unhappy year this one is. What year is it? Yes, yes. Time has a way of being at times almost timeless. And I sometimes, from time to time, cannot remember what year it is. It is 1961, and Paris is all a dither. The Kennedys are to come here. No, not here. Not to number 5 Rue Christine, but to Paris. And the city is decorated for that, with flags and bunting and perhaps a student uprising or two for their entertainment. But that is not the matter. The matter is the pictures. They are gone. Rubina, the widow of my nephew Alan. You know, Alan died. Rubina has taken them away, and they are now stored in a vault at the Chase Manhattan Bank. Damn Rubina. Rubina. What a peculiar name for a person. Alice says it is a name which should be bestowed upon a diet biscuit. Rubina was worried. She told the lawyers that the pictures were endangered by Alice being away. 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 Alice is away. But being away is her perfect right. She is not well. This last winter, the one past, 1960, was severe, severe. And poor Alice's arthritis became as severe as the winter had been. Anita Luce, with the bangs and the eyes, you know, the one who wrote "Gentlemen prefer one thing or another," and if anyone should know, she should, suggested that Alice take to the baths, and take to them she has done. She is living with the Sisters of the Precious Blood near Rome. She can hardly walk anymore, and she can hardly see. She does not know the paintings are gone. Her world has been misplaced. Alice and misplaced are one and the same thing. Even during the Second War, she misplaced our passports. And the closest thing she could find to use for official documents was Baskett's pedigree and inoculation record. And she used them. If Alice had been a general, she would never lose a battle. She would merely misplace it.
I must tell you what happened.
You went away with 2 canes and you're back with only 1.
Well, knowing that at the Sisters of the Precious Blood there would be precious little for me to do, I took along several books which I've been meaning to read for some time.
And your eyes are in such condition to read?
And as I entered the door of the convent, and this charming nun was helping me to carry my things, I dropped a small travel bag which I was carrying, which released onto the floor a copy of Lolita, which I had taken along to read. Oh, the dear nun bent over, picked it up for me, glanced at the title. I was petrified. "My dear," she said to me sweetly, "you read detective stories."
Alice, you haven't noticed.
Boring.
What's boring?
Oh, the book, Lolita? It was not amusing, and even worse than that, it was not dirty.
Alice, the pictures are gone.
Oh dear, did I misplace them?
No. Alan's widow had them taken away.
Why? Why would she do that? Why would Rybita do something like that?
Rubina.
Whatever, why? Why would she do that? You gave those pictures to me. You said they were for me to eat, and I have not.
They were not insured.
They were. I'm certain they were. Did I not insure them? Were they? I'm certain I did.
Not to their value,
Oh.
dearest. Not to what they are worth.
Who knows what they are worth? Rybita? Never. No pictures don't have value. Not value that one can say. Their value is in the pleasure they give and have given. They are dollarless.
Dollarless? Where did you get such a word?
Just now, do you like it?
I love it. It's an exciting word.
Do you approve?
Completely.
Oh.
I always have. And I do now.
Well, then I shall use it frequently. Pictures are dollarless, and no one, oh, least of all,
Rybita.
the diet biscuit widow, will say what their value is worth, appreciate them, or their worth. What are they worth?
More than $1 million. Dollars less. Dollars less more. Dollars more or less.
Who would have thought that? But you paid almost nothing for them. $10, $20, sometimes $100.
That was many years ago.
Most amazing.
Most disturbing.
That they are gone?
Most.
Oh, no.
Most disturbing.
No, not that. Not really that. Yes, that as well. But not really that. No, they aren't gone. Though they aren't here. They are here as you are here. And as I am.
But they are gone. And she had not the right to do that. Dead is dead, and gone is gone, and they are gone.
They aren't gone for me. I couldn't see them anymore anyway with my dim eyes. Happily, in vivid memory, I still see them. Oh, don't you?
Dimly, perhaps.
At my years, dear, dear baby Woojums, dimly is what there is. Now look, dear. Pablo's young girl with a basket. Now there's a Lolita for you. That is as it should be. It's both very amusing and very, very dirty.
When I had died,
July 27th, 1946.
it had seemed, to Alice at first it had seemed both unthinkable and unbearable.
I had thought of it at first, when there had first been pain. I mean, not too much, but quite more than enough. I assumed, because the doctors assumed, that Gertrude was suffering of an infection of the bowels.
Unpleasant, but untrue.
It was cancer.
Even more unpleasant, but completely true and years too late. There was nothing to be done but death.
And that is what was done. Death.
Done is a word which means was done. Yet those things I had set out to accomplish were indeed not done.
There were books written, but not printed, not published, to be published and printed.
It was that which Alice had yet to see to. It was that which she did see to. She published those things of mine which had not been published.
I saw to it that they were published.
And sacrificed so they would be done.
Ooh, I labored and forced their publication.
She was inventive, dead set, and purposeful. But all that was later.
Before that, there were the problems of the publication. It was a problem.
No, I had had a bit of success.
Well, there was the piece now and then that saw print in one or another of the little magazines.
And they were good to see.
But there was no large overall audience. In America, you were almost unbred, and you were certainly more than almost unknown.
This was, of course, before the autobiography.
Yes.
I had a certain reputation there.
In America.
And I was, more than anything else, I was American.
The publishing began, to be exact.
Before I had died, as I recall. But it was Alice who invented the idea.
It began when an American reporter interviewed her.
Miss Stein, I'm afraid that your writings haven't weathered the Atlantic crossing too well. Yes, I am aware of that. Perhaps you'd care to comment on this? Lack of popular success in America is the last of my worries. I am working for what will endure, not for a public. Once you have a public, you're never free. Early success is killing. According to your bio, Miss Stein, you are 56 years old? Perhaps I am. Well, any success you could gain could not then be called early, could it? There are those of us at 56 who have just begun to hit our stride, while there are others at your age, whatever that young age may be, who have already sunk into a closed dotage. Very well then, to an average reader, your style is totally comprehensible. All this foolishness about my writing being mystic or impressionistic is so stupid, just a lot of rot. I write as pure, straight, grammatical English as anyone, more accurate grammatically than most. There's not a single one of my sentences which a child could not diagram, with the possible exception of yourself. Very well, then I'd like to ask you to comment on this expatriate business. No. Now you listen to me, young lady. You know nothing about it. Don't you dare call me an expatriate. I am more American than you could ever hope to be. I have generations of Americans behind me. Americanism is born in me. Perhaps you could explain to me why it is that your writings are mostly unavailable in the United States.
They very soon shall be.
Yes?
Yes.
Published by whom?
By a new publishing company. You've never heard of it.
And the name of this new publishing house?
It's called Plain Editions. And now that you know, I think the interview is concluded.
And that is what we called it, Plain Editions. We had not planned it to happen that way, but that is the way it happened. Plain Editions. We gave it the name. Alice did the rest. Where are you going?
Out.
And the picture?
Picture?
The one you're carrying about tucked under your arm.
Oh, this picture.
Yes, indeed, this picture.
It's Pablo's Woman with a Fan.
I know very well who painted it and what it is called. Very well indeed. What I don't know and would know is why you're carrying it about tucked under your arm as it is.
Must I tell you?
You must.
The truth?
The truth.
Nothing else?
Nothing.
Very well.
Yes?
I have sold it.
Sold it?
Sold it.
Whatever for?
Oh, a great deal of money, dear.
I don't mean that. I mean why. Why have you sold it?
To pay for the book.
The book?
The book, your book. I have decided that if you are to be a success, it will just have to be of your own doing.
Now, Alice, what do you know about publishing?
Nothing, really. Oh, I know I shall have to get it printed, and then I shall have to get it distributed, and then I shall have to get it sold. It seems quite simple. Anyway, that is why I have sold Woman with a Fan.
And she did it. She knew nothing about it, but she did it. It was published in an edition of 1,000 copies, and it was bound in a beautiful blue cover with black lettering, and I was happy as a child. I used to wander through the Paris streets, passing all the bookstores, and when a copy of it was in one or another of the windows, I was happy, most happy. It was ecstasy. The first one Alice that is, printed and published was Lucy Church Amiably. It was a good book. They all were. All of them were good books.
They aren't selling well. Oh, no mind, not to worry. They will.
I cannot find a title for the new one.
It will come.
I suppose.
Well, on my way back over here this afternoon, I heard the strangest thing.
Yes?
Yes. I stepped into a restaurant for an ice.
Raspberry or lemon?
Oh, lemon. Very tart. Very good. And there were two French women seated at the table next to me, and the first French woman said to the second French woman, "Before the friendship fades, the flowers of friendship fade." Well, was that not a very poetic thing for a French woman to say? They so rarely say anything poetic more than "The price of this half chicken is far too expensive."
Perfect.
Well, I thought so.
I mean the perfect title.
What is?
Before the flowers of friendship faded. Perfect. What a gift. Thank you.
I'm afraid it can't be
What can't be?
printed.
The new book can't be printed? Why?
Money.
It is always money.
It has all been spent on this one.
Then you'll simply have to sell another picture.
Oh, I don't know.
If it is what is to be done, it is what is to be done. Sell. Sell them all if we must.
Well,
The books are the important things now. Sell.
which one? Whose?
It doesn't matter. You decide. A Matisse?
I think so. We shall miss his less. He is the more uncertain of the collection.
Why do you think that? His colors are quite good, and his conceptions.
Oh, yes, quite good, but, well, he does have a flaw. A major flaw, I think.
Yes.
He never knew what size canvas to use for his painting.
And it was done. The works were published. One by one they were published, and it was Alice who did the thing. She wrote everyone and urged everyone and bullied them all. She learned the language of printing and publishing. I never did, but then I didn't need to do so because Alice did. She continued to do so after I died. Everything. She always did everything. After I died, there were painful things she had to do. Unlike the Matisse paintings, which she was not loath to part with, there was one which pained her, hurt her to part with.
I have just committed murder in the kitchen. And now I shall sit here quietly and smoke until the police come and take me into custody.
You killed the cook.
No, I haven't killed her. It was the carp.
It was the carp?
The fish man sold it to me. He told me he did not have the time to kill it, nor scale it, nor clean it. And nor did he have the time to tell me with which of these horrible necessities one is to begin, and the carp is vital.
Why vital?
Pablo is coming
Here?
this evening
To what purpose?
to say goodbye to his picture.
His picture?
His portrait of you. It goes tomorrow to the Metropolitan in New York.
That is proper, and as it should be. I did will
And
that.
so you see, that's why I murdered the carp. The deed is done.
And that is that?
One allowed oneself to do so, one could become quite accustomed to killing. Oh, I shall miss it.
You shall miss the killing.
No, I shall probably continue with that. I shall miss the portrait. It will not be the same with the portrait, not here.
Pablo had the most difficult time painting my face. Finally, in anger, no, frustration, he wiped away the face completely and fled to the south of France. No, Barcelona, I think. And then when he returned, he finished it completely in one afternoon.
And they all told him, but Pablo, it does not look like her.
And he said, but it will. It will.
And it did. And it does. Oh, I haven't got the courage of a thimble. I dread their coming for it. I didn't think I would miss it so much, knowing it was going where Gertrude wanted it to go, but I shall. I shall.
There was that other time, long ago when we were young. There were those who thought us fools, me anyway, a fool. There were those same ones who questioned the things I wrote. Well, what is it, they'd ask. What is it? A rose is a rose is a rose. Now listen, I told them, listen. I am not a fool. I know that in everyday life we don't say a blank is a blank is a blank. But it is literature, and more than statements. I think that in that line, rose is a rose is a rose. The rose is red for the first time in English poetry in over 500 years. There is no difficulty. Just read the words on the page. They're English. Just read them. Be simple, and you'll understand these things. Then there was the autobiography of Alice, and it was written, but that was later. First, it was not written. And I said to Alice, dear,
Yes.
have you ever considered that you might perhaps could, and might perhaps should, write ever?
Oh, I have quite enough to do with my petty point. I'm doing the design Pablo drew for me. And this yellow cotton I'm using is not the color I wanted. Pablo hates this yellow.
There's all your background and your family, and you're coming to Paris to live, and living here, and living with me, and all the famous people.
And there's my father.
Oh, is he important to us?
Oh, yes, or I should think so anyway.
How so?
Well, in the first place, he slept through the quake.
The earthquake? Slept through it?
Top to bottom of it.
Extraordinary.
Well, I thought it so. And when I went into where he was sleeping to wake him up, I said to him, Father, Father, wake up, wake up!
Did he do so?
Eventually. And I said to him, Father, Oh, the most terrible thing has happened. We've had an earthquake and San Francisco is burning. And he said, my God, girl, that'll give us a black eye in the east, and rolled over and went back to sleep.
There, you see, that is at least a chapter.
Oh, I knew this was the wrong shade of yellow.
Alice, your autobiography, it must be written.
Oh, I may someday write a cookbook. Someday. Because cooking is something I know about.
Alice, you must write it.
My cookbook.
No, your autobiography.
Oh, you write it.
I will. And I did. And how I wrote it. It was completed, you'll never believe, in 6 weeks. I did not intend, and I did not expect it to be what it became. And it became what it became because that is what it was to begin with. What was it that it became? Popular. Beyond our wildest hopes. Its first issue was sold out before it hit the bookstores. It was presented in abridged form in the Atlantic. And it was a book of the month. But it was not all good, not all. What happened...
Gertrude! The taxi is waiting, and beyond that, the Atlantic and America beyond that.
When the success began, and it was success, I got lost, completely lost.
Gertrude, you are to lecture to America.
I am I because my little dog knows me. Well, you see, I did not know myself. In Paris, I was I because so many people knew me.
Gertrude.
In America, all of a sudden, I was not just I any longer because so many people knew of me.
Gertrude.
And I was to lecture there.
Everything is ready. I have packed us and the taxi is waiting. And America is waiting.
I rather doubt that, Alice. It never has.
Balmain has done all your lovely costumes, and if you don't come along, they won't get worn. At least not in America. I told them what you said.
Who?
The reporters from the newspapers downstairs. There are dozens of them.
What did you tell them?
Almost what you said.
Which was?
That you couldn't speak with them now because there are some things a lion cannot do.
Alice, what I said was there are some things a girl cannot do.
Lion is a more fitting word than girl. At this time here, with what we are doing here,
What are we doing here?
you are to lecture. I am to arrange things, but you have to lecture.
I know what we're doing here, but I mean, what are we doing here? America. I cannot like being here, yet I love here more than anywhere. It's just that after 30 years, I cannot feel at home here. There are no writers here. No painters, no paintings, and no writers.
There was. There was Henry James, and there was Mark Twain.
Twain was right. He didn't know what to do in America. So, as he said, he got up and washed and went to bed.
I sent the reporters away. They'll not bother us anymore for a while.
They wanted pictures of me.
We have pictures.
They wanted to take their own pictures.
Did you permit them to do so?
Yes, but I do not think it was satisfactory.
Oh, of course it was satisfactory. If it was pictures of you which they wanted and pictures of you which they took.
They wanted me to do things for their cameras.
What did they want you to do?
No. First, they suggested that I unpack our things. And I told them I cannot do that. Miss Topeless always unpacks our things. And then they suggested I answer the telephone. And I said no. Alice always answers the telephone. What can you do? They asked me, and I told them. I said, well, I can drink a glass of water, and I can put on and take off my coat. And that is what I did.
All at the same time, dear?
Yes, to a certain extent.
Clever, dear. Very clever.
Do you think so? Really? didn't seem quite enough.
And why not? But you're famous now. The famous can do any number of things which are quite clever in their doing them, which would not be clever at all. In fact, quite ordinary in anyone else's doing them.
That is true.
Yes.
La Gloire. Famous. Did you see the lights going round and round that building on Times Square? Gertrude Stein has arrived in America. Gertrude Stein has arrived in America.
As if we didn't know. Oh, Miss Stein, what are your views on American politics?
I have none.
On President Roosevelt?
Only Lincoln Steffens has written correctly about President Roosevelt.
Miss Stein, that was President Theodore Roosevelt. I'm asking you about Franklin Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt is
He
dead.
may not be as dead as you think.
Oh, Miss Stein, do you even know President Coolidge died?
Of course, he may have died while I was on the boat coming over to America.
Miss Stein, Miss Stein! Miss Stein must prepare for her lecture tour and have her supper.
Alice, I think we'll order from room service tonight.
And what are we having?
We shall have Back Bay oysters, cornbread, and honeydew melon. What do you think?
I think honeydew melon is ubiquitous. What else is there?
And so, after 30 years, we had our dinner in our room at the Algonquin. And after 30 years, we went to sleep in our bed in our hotel in America. And after 30 years, it was pleasing. Good night, Alice.
Good night, Gertrude.
And that was the American tour. In the end, I did lecture at Radcliffe, my alma mater. And it was a great success in America. We saw everything, everyone. And of course, everyone saw us. Alice managed the whole thing, not just the American tour, though that as well, but everything for me, and always. Is there really an Alice B. Toklas? The reporters would ask me. Huh. And I would laugh. You can be sure that there is. There is, most certainly. She is.
Gertrude.
And there she is. Alice.
The knee is better. Much, much better.
That's good. Very good indeed.
But the arthritis is worse. Dearest, I have sent the chairs to Yale. I am trying not to hate.
Hate? The chairs?
Yes, the chairs with the seats. Pablo drew the designs in 1920, the needlepoint chairs. Don't you remember the chairs with the wrong yellow cotton?
I suppose so. Yes, of course I do.
Well, Rivita cannot get to them now. They have gone beyond her reach. Beyond mine. Almost everything has. Except certain memories.
What's funny?
Oh, Gertrude, we had such wonderful adventures. Don't you remember during the war, we were stuck in the snow, and I was certain we were on the wrong road, and I wanted to turn back. But you said, never mind, right or wrong, it is the road we are on, and we are continuing on it.
And we did. That is what we did.
Yes, we continued.
We do still, and we shall. We always shall.
Ooh, and then there was the soldier.
Many soldiers, many, many.
True, but I'm remembering the one who came to Cologne and was billeted in the house we had there. Oh, in the house and with us there.
There were always too many of the soldiers. Too many of the soldiers, always.
It was during the war, the second one.
And too many wars. There were always too many wars, always.
Well, I would think so.
And when that war began, all those who cared for us, and there were a great many who cared for us, said that we must Being two Jewish ladies, we simply must leave.
And you told them you thought not.
I told them thank you, but no. We, Alice and I, shall pass this war here, where we are. We have always passed our wars in France.
I must admit now I was frightened some. We did not know who would win.
Do we know who did?
Oh, how do you mean, dear?
The winner loses, the loser wins,
Oh.
and sometimes the other way round, and sometimes both, sometimes neither.
It was almost impossible to get cigarettes. Almost impossible to get food. Oh, I used to dream of cartons of Pall Malls. Oh, and thick slices of ham on a silver platter. And being both enemy aliens and Jewish together, it was a wicked dream. Quite possibly dangerous.
During war, danger is a thing which one must refuse to face.
And during peacetime, too.
And all other times as well, I should think.
No, and then he was billeted on us.
Who was billeted on us?
The soldier, the German major.
He was a captain, dear.
No, dear, he was a major. They brought us a captain, but you told them no. You said we'd already had 2 captains, and you felt we merited a higher rank, having already had 2. And they went away, and they brought us back the major.
That is what they did. You're right.
Yes.
So they did.
I was amazed.
Amazed.
Yes, quite amazed. He was a gentleman.
Madame,
Yes?
I've finished. The bathroom is free.
Very good. I trust you put the lid down properly on the commode and rinsed out the tub.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
The eggs you prepared for dinner?
Yes?
They were delicious.
What did he know? He was the enemy. He brought us eggs and other things, but enough for the 3 of us, and I always made them scrambled for him, but for us, I prepared the most exquisite souffle. He never knew. But then he was Nazi, and the Nazis always like things scrambled.
He was with us for 3 weeks, and I don't think he ever even suspected we were American. Alice used to try to keep me out of his way, and he out of mine, because she always thought I looked more American than she did, and more or less more Jewish. Are you ladies American?
American? Us? Goodness, no. Oh, if you think you detect a slight bit of accent. I had an American nurse when I was a child.
Where were you a child?
In Valencia, we're Spanish. Nosotros estamos española y católica as well.
I know your country well. I spent a great deal of my youth there, and studied there and trained there.
Oh, bueno. Si.
I shall go and sleep now. I hope I have not disturbed you too much. Good night.
Good night. Sleep well. He knew, of course. He went away several days later and took with him a tin of peaches he had given to me.
And then one day the war was over, and we could not believe it was so.
But everyone said it was so, and we waited and we thought about it, and it seemed so, and so we started back to Paris.
It was cold and raining, and the trip took us all night long.
Because Auntie, our car, broke down on the way back to Paris.
That was nothing. She always broke down. She was a car with a nervous breakdown.
And then some Americans in a Jeep stopped and fixed her for us. I have always wondered why everyone gave us such assistance, even hiding us from the Nazis when they could. They never seemed to help anyone else so much.
Because everyone else looked efficient. And I never did. I never was efficient. I am good-humored. And I am totally democratic. And I always did know what I wanted. The important thing is to have a sense of equality. And if you have that, anyone will do anything for you. And they did.
All but Ernest.
Now, he would have, had he not been...
Fragile.
You call Ernest fragile?
I do. Very fragile.
Ernest the sportsman?
Oh, that was his image of himself, not mine. Anytime he did anything sporting, he broke something. His arm, his leg, not often enough his head. Sportsman. He used to tire him out just walking a few blocks from his place to ours.
You have truly hated him, haven't you?
From the beginning. The first beginning.
Now, he was a good pupil.
Oh.
Even, I might say, a favorite pupil.
Yellow. He was a yellow pupil, jaundiced, and he never understood.
It was flattering to have a pupil who does it without understanding. In other words, he took training. And anyone who takes training is a favorite pupil.
I think he was a rotten pupil.
At least he looks modern.
Looked modern, smelled of the museum.
Alice, why have you hated him so?
Because he was in love with you.
Dearest, there were others, a great many others who were in love with me.
Yes, I know, but he was the one. He was the only one that you were in love with, too.
And it was true. And I never knew she knew it. I did love him. Him. H-I-M. Him. H-E-M. He would have vetted me. I don't know. I don't know. The idea is tremendous. The walrus and the carpenter in a single bed. A tremendous idea. When Alice learned of the tragic thing which happened to Ernest, the tragic way in which he killed himself, she wrote,
The thing which happened to Ernest interested me. But it saddened me as well. I did not hate him any longer. I try not to hate anyone any longer. God's blessing to you. God's love. Oh, everything was so long ago and foolish, long ago.
Ernest was long ago. So many were long ago and gone. But there were many who came to Alice. They all came. The lost generation, and all of them came to her. F. Scott Fitzgerald, all the new young men as they became writers. And the years passed. And the WCA came. The official with an official act. The eviction of Alice. There is nothing to be done. Alice does not understand. For the first time in her life, she does not understand. She's nearly 90 years old. And if there's ever a time not to understand, it's when one is nearly 90. The WCA came and Alice is to be evicted. Oh, it is not her fault. It is simply a fact. And the fact is a law. And the law is, a flat may not be empty for more than 4 months out of the year. And Alice's arthritis and the cataract means spending time in nursing homes. And God, oh God, there is nothing to be done.
I have been moved. On the 30th of April, I shall be 90 years old, and I have been moved to a new apartment. Gertrude's things are here, her furniture, but she is not. She is not. It is a very new apartment here, very modern. So modern one is not allowed to drive a nail into the wall to hang a painting. In a country of painters,
has been dark and cold, but now darker than cold. I don't remember anything like it.
Gertrude asked me, frankly, what did I say to her? And I told her, frankly, I need protection, and she told me I shall have it. And then she asked me what did I wish for after that. And I told her I wanted her to mean a great deal to me, and she said, exactly. And then what? And then blandishments.
It was 1:30 on the morning of March 7, 1967, and her beating heart stopped beating. She was nearly 90 years old. Her beating heart stopped. She was placed beside me at Père Lachaise, the cemetery, and someone said, "Ladies and gentlemen, it is over." But was it? It was not.